All right, welcome back. So this is our second turn, part two of my series on playing through D-Day at Tarawa by Decision Games. Game designed by John Butterfield, and the graphics on the map by Joe Youst. So as you probably noticed if you watched part one, I screwed up on one of the close combats by mixing up the colors between blue and green. So I went back and corrected that, and obviously, I'm I corrected it. It was in my favor, but I would have corrected it even if it was the other way around, only because it would have been the right thing to do. So this one here, um, this hex was the hex in question. I was playing it as if it was green. It was actually blue, obviously. So the Americans actually took the hex. So as you can see, as we get ready to start the second turn here, we have we've made some inroads as far as this, I guess, eastern side of the map around the pier. We have some units on the beach, some disruptions because I did do some close combats in the first turn, trying to kind of dislodge some of the Japanese coastal defenses just so that I would have a somewhat easier time getting my follow-on waves to shore. As we go west here, you can see we still have we have Company F of the 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines. They are pretty much alone and surrounded by a lot of Japanese units. Up here we have some engineers. They are in a building, so they're actually kind of protected there. And then down here we have Major Ryan, and he is with one of the infantry units. It has been reduced. It's Company K, 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines. Took a couple of step hits, so it's down to 2. And then down a little further here, we have Company I, same 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines. They are still at 4. So they are looking to make some hay here in this area and kind of help clear up the area where Red Beach 1, the waves from that is Red Beach 1. So they're looking to make some inroads so that the follow-on waves can land there successfully. So having said that, let's get looking at what we've got coming in this round. So here on Red Beach 1, we have a couple of infantry units. We have Company L, 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines, so they go with these guys up here. And we also have Company M of the same 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines, so that's Red Beach 1. Red Beach 2, we have Companies G and H of the 2nd Battalion of the 2nd Marines. And over here we have, whoops, that's right, we got to double up the LVTs here. We have Company G and Company H of 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. So as you can see, if we come up here, we have 8th Marines here. We have 2nd Marines here. So the pier is kind of a dividing line between the 8th Regiment and the 2nd Regiment. And the 2nd Regiment is also present on this side as well. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to start our landing here. So as before, that involves drawing cards. So we will draw our first card here. And we have drift, pivot right, okay, which does not affect, because we always work right to left. So we're starting at Red Beach 1. Pivot right has no effect there. And so our next card will tell us how our first unit does. So we're going to lose our LVT and 1 step of our unit. So, and it's a water, which means that they will probably end up here, I believe, if I'm looking at this correctly. So we're going like that, and sure enough, we lose our LVT, so I'm just going to remove it and put it off to the side. And we're going to flip this guy over, and now Company M, 3rd Battalion, is down to 3 steps, and we'll have to wade ashore. So we'll move on to our second unit here, no drift, and 3, so they're going to take a step hit as well, and the LVT will be fine. And that's going to the beach. So company L hits the beach right here. The LVT is fine, so it's going to go back to the recovery box. This guy takes a hit as well. So we have 3 companies now of 3rd Battalion. One of them, well, we actually have all 4 companies, but one of them still out in the water, and only one of them is at full strength. So moving on to Red Beach 2, where we have 2nd Battalion's companies H and G. So we'll do H first. Drift PR. So when you get this, pivot right is just turning it this way. So they're now facing that way, and they're going to end up over here on the wrong beach, basically. But they get a clean landing, so no damage done to them or their LVT. So we're just going to drive it straight up here, and they are going to land right next to Major Ryan, right here. Okay. And the LVT goes to the recovery for available LVTs. So moving on, Drift 1L, so that's in this direction. And another one that gets to the beach unscathed. All right, so they're going to drive right along the pier here and land in D1. So that was actually pretty good. So now our kind of central point here is looking very solid. So now moving to Red Beach 3, Drift 1R. We're going to have an LVT step loss and a unit step loss, and we're going inland 1. So our LVT, we had 2 singles here, so we're going to remove that. I'll put this guy back over here, and they will go, I guess I could go here and just drive up this way, and that would handle the 1 pivot right, and we did lose a step. So, all right, so just like 3rd Battalion, 2nd Battalion has landed a bunch of their companies now. We've got E through E, F, G, and H are all in, and only H and F have taken a step loss. E and G are both still essentially at full strength. Okay, our last landing, Drift 1R. That's here. And then we get an unscathed landing. All 4 make it to the beach, and the LVTs also survive. So I'll remove my LVTs. And we're going to drive this guy up, and we're actually going to end up with a lot of units here on this, and I'm going to have to clean that up or start eliminating, because you're limited to 5 per hex, and we have 3 in here already, and we're going to have 4 more. So that's a lot. That's 7. So I will be able to advance them, though, once we get to the action phase. Since we are in turn 2, we do draw an event card. Okay, so event 2, for the second turn is add a depth marker to 1 Japanese unit. Okay, so we're going to grab a coastal depth here. Now, we got a good candidate right here. He's kind of surrounded by U.S. units. We also have one here that has a U.S. adjacent. We have another one here with a U.S. unit adjacent. That's a D3, which is a really low number. So I'm inclined to put it there. That's E4. This is F1. So I feel like I should try to put it where it would be most useful. And this is really close to a beach, but so is this. They're all actually pretty close to the beach. They're all behind the seawall, but adjacent to a beach hex. So I'm going to put it here, even though I guess technically I should put it there. I guess I'll follow the rule and I'll put it where it's supposed to go. I think if I were playing as the Japanese player, I would put it here because this guy is in rough shape right now. You could also look at it as that would be a wasted use of a depth chit because this guy is unlikely to survive much longer, surrounded as he is by Marines. So we've now done that, and so now we move to the Japanese fire phase, and I forgot to move this, so we'll move this here. Okay, so we first do our fire check, or not fire check, we do our, we flip a card and look for our boxes and symbol. So we have a yellow, a purple, and a double brown, or khaki, I guess. I call it brown. It's kind of a greenish brown, but it's not green because there is a specific, more foresty green here. So yellow, we have a yellow here. Okay. We have a yellow over here. We also have some purples around. There's a purple here. The tank is a purple. We also have an artillery there too, but that will come after the fire actions. All right. We're also able to remove disrupted markers from the Japanese units, but they don't have any currently. So, and that would occur after the firing, right? So if you disrupt a unit, basically it cannot be recovered until after the firing phase. So what we should do, I suppose, is start working out our fire here. So this unit is actually it has an artillery marker, so that's interesting. But we have a solid circle here, right, which overrides the fact that this unit doesn't have the circle symbol. It's got a diamond. Okay, none of these other units. This one does have the circle symbol, but it's also got a checkerboard circle there, firing dot. So I'm going to basically say that it's going to fire here because it has the solid circle, and so that's priority 1, and that's intense fire. So that's going to automatically remove a step. And I believe it also disrupts this unit. I will confirm that. Fire by unrevealed position. Intense fire. Yes, units of every type and target symbol lose a step and are disrupted. So this guy, Company H, 2nd Battalion, he's actually heavy infantry, so this is a fairly serious loss. So H is this one. So H is now a 2-step unit. And this will go in our infantry loss box. All right, so that takes care of that unit. It has fired. Now we'll move on to this yellow over here. Okay, so this guy. And again, we're looking for circles. So this qualifies right here. We have a circle in a checkered box. That's a checkered box as well. And the unit is a triangle, so that would not work. And we have a triangle here and a triangle here, or diamond. I'm sorry, not triangle. The triangle's out here. So we also have a circle up here, but I don't think the firing reaches that far. And those guys don't have dots. So we will fire here. So this is Company L, 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines. So they would be right here, and they were here. So they're going to be reduced as well. So we are taking some lumps here. And we will have, I needed to put these out and I didn't do it yet. So these are our 2 headquarter units that land this turn, and they land hero side up initially, and then if the hero takes damage, they would get flipped to their just regular HQ side. All right, so we've completed our yellow fire. We now go to purple. So I don't think the tank can actually reach anybody, but this guy can. Maybe. Okay, So I believe Japanese actions don't actually begin, it says here, until turn 3. So normally what would happen is this tank would be able to move up. But I'm going to, after I've just checked the rules, it appears to me at least that this tank can't move until next turn. It can't advance until next turn because the only actions I believe that Japanese units can take in turns 1 and 2 are fire actions. And he doesn't quite project his fire out far enough to hit this unit, which is the closest. So in theory, he could move up to another position and swap with one of these infantries. He could move towards he could move up to 4 hexes, so he could move like here or here, and then the unit that's there would actually get bumped back to his former position. So we can't do that. So we're going to move on to the brown now, which would be this guy here. But his range doesn't reach this guy. And as far as the other browns, this one, a same situation as the purple. He doesn't really have any available targets and can't move yet. We have one here, but his field of fire doesn't reach them. Over here, we don't have anything. So the next thing we would do is check for artillery. So here on the bottom of the card, you see 3 any and the artillery symbol. So what this means is if the Japanese have 3 occupied hexes or positions that have the artillery symbol, they get to fire at an American unit will take damage. So just checking, we know this one does, that one does. So that's 2 right there. That one does. All right, so we do get to hit one of the Americans, but they have to have the target symbol, which in this case is a circle. So we have one here. We have one here. And we have one here. But this one already took a hit. So I think we're looking at these 2 guys right here. Or maybe one of the engineers as well. I would think that they would probably choose to hit an infantry unit. The question is which one. And as far as priorities for this, okay, so you choose a non-HQ unit with the target symbol shown on the card to use a step in the following priority. In a beach approach hex in the water in a beach hex. Okay, so I'm going to say that this guy qualifies and so does this guy qualify. If you need to select the unit with the most steps. So this guy is going to lose a step. Okay, so that's our artillery fire. Okay, now we would do disruption removal, which we do not have. And I think I screwed up the tank disruption removal because I think it indicated that you were supposed to only remove that as an action for the tank. As its action or its first action of the game. So I'm not sure if these are supposed to be disrupted, and if they were, then this one would probably be the only one that would be, but I think red came up before on the previous turn. So I'm just going to leave them all undisrupted for now. If it's going to hurt anything, it's going to hurt my chances. So I'm just going to play it that way. If you're watching this and you know the answer to the question, feel free to comment and tell me, hey, Bozo, you screwed that up. Trust me, you won't hurt my feelings. Okay, so we now move on. We skip the event and engineer and HQ phase, and we go to the U.S. action phase. We have move, attack, barrage, close combat. Okay, that's the order of operations, so to speak. All right, so we have a free action with Major Ryan. We also will get free actions to remove the disrupted markers from our units. I will wait and do that last because that's the only action they can take anyway. And that way it'll keep me from being confused. Now, one thing I actually did already was move this unit, Company G. I moved them off of this disrupted. That was my first move. And I went here first and then here to avoid the rule about having to stop when you become adjacent to an enemy unit, because there's an enemy unit here. Because the plan ultimately is to get after this guy right here. So I'm using my U.S. action taken chit to indicate that that guy has made his move. So I have 2 moves left plus the free moves. So we have some decisions to make here. And I think what I'm going to do is I am going to use Major Ryan's free move and this guy's move to, and I flipped this because I kind of looked already, because I was planning on doing close combat here. So I am going to take this guy and Major Ryan and the Company K, and we are going to close assault that hex. So we'll resolve that at the end. So this is still moves right now. So I have 1 move left, and I need to decide what I want to do with that 1 move. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a second close combat with this guy with Company E. Okay, so we're going to hit this position as well. And again, this is largely because many of my units have made it to the beach relatively intact, and so I'm willing to go a little harder after, a hard punch, essentially, to really get a beachhead established and make the approach easier. I've kind of cleared out this area largely so that, Red Beach 3 is pretty well set as far as being protected, because, as long as I don't stray into this area over here, these guys can now approach safely because there's no Japanese firing positions on the beach right here. So Red Beach 3 is pretty safe. We've got 1 unit, basically 1 unit, really 2, I guess, or 3. See, this area, red 2, isn't as protected, and I'm working on red 1. So that's why this close combat and this close combat are taking place. I want to solidify my beachhead and make it easier for my units to actually get some survivability here. So, having said that, that's my move phase. I'm not doing any regular attacks. We'll get into the whole firing thing later. Right now, I'm all about assault and close combat. So, Barrage, we don't have any tank units landed yet. We haven't had any events that give us naval fire, so we don't have any Barrage. So we are going to go right into our close combat again. And I will do this one first because this one's going to be a little bit more straightforward. So we have a single unit there, and 4 steps for us. So this is going to be 1 for the Japanese and 4 cards for the US. We'll do this and we'll say Japan, US, 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 US. All right. Because the Japanese, checking the close combat chart, they get a card for each depth marker and unit. They don't have a depth marker. They do have a unit, so they get 1. They don't have CC on that unit. That unit is just a regular coastal unit, so it doesn't have any special requirements at all, actually, on its counter. And it's not a tank, and it's not a night turn. So, as usual, the Japanese will go first, and they are in a yellow, and it is a yellow, so they're going to cause a step loss to the Company E here. Company E is now down to 3. Okay, so now we're on the Americans. So they draw a yellow as well, and that will close out the combat because that yellow destroys this unit. So we remove this guy, and I will put him over here. And put my Company E in that position, and I'm going to mark him as disrupted, because that was a close combat, and the survivor of a close combat is marked as disrupted. So now we have our other one over here. So we have 3 units taking part. Well, we have Major Ryan, but we have a total of 6 steps. Now, the most you can have from steps is 4. We get an additional 1 for having Ryan, and I believe that's all we get. Although actually a heavy one has all weapons. Heavy infantry has all weapons, and that would include a flamethrower, I believe. And then under that we have a two-step, well, a unit with two. This is actually it has an attack rating of 2, and a depth chart, a depth counter. So depth marker rather. Okay, so for the U.S., you draw 1 card for each step up to 4. Okay, we already established we have 7 steps. You get 1 if there's an engineer with a flamethrower. So we don't have an engineer, but we do get 1 for the U.S. hero. So we get 5 cards. The Japanese get 1 for their unit, 1 for their depth marker. They're not the attacker. Their strength is 3, so they don't get 1 for that. Neither one has a close combat requirement, and it's not a tank or a knight. So we're looking at 5 to 2 here. And I'm going to put these cards in the discard. And so we got 1, 2. Okay. So our Japanese first card, the color is blue. So they did draw blue, so we do get a step loss for the US. So Company K will go down to 1 step. All right. Now we do our first US card. They have a blue as well. So that removes the depth marker. Next Japanese one. No blue, no effect, no event either. Next US one, no event, no blue. Next US, no event, no blue. Next event, next card, no event, no blue. The Japanese might actually survive this. And they don't, because we have a blue on the last card. So that eliminates this unit. And we now have captured that position, which is nice because it one less potential spot to shoot at our men waiting in, assuming we run out of LVTs, which is a probable outcome, let's say. So that ends the second turn, and we will move to our third turn now, and we reset. Phase goes back over here, and I think I'm good on the cards. I don't think I need to reshuffle. We only have 2 units landing, so I'm just actually going to go right into turn 3, and we'll make this a 2-turn episode. So I will draw for our first landing unit. We get no drift, and we get we lose an LVT step, but we do get to the beach, and there was no unit loss. So we go to the beach. So they make it here. So our company commander, or battalion commander rather, makes it to the beach. This LVT has been destroyed, so it's removed. So now we move to our other headquarters unit. No drift. And we again lose. Actually, we have 1 LVT survives. I played that wrong. Actually, this LVT survives, because if it's 1, it means 1 survived. So that's not a loss. That actually stays. So that gets recovered. This gets recovered as well, and this guy lands here. Okay, so that is the end of the amphibious phase, and we will go to the event phase. And the event for 2. We're in turn 3, so between 2 and 10. No ship to shore comm. All LVTs unavailable next turn. That's actually not terrible, because next turn we're landing tanks, and the tanks don't use LVTs. So kind of dodged a bullet on that one, so to speak. And so we'll move on to the Japanese fire phase. Now, we're in turn 3. So as you can see here on the board, turn 3 has a chit that you can turn over, and A is under that chit. So that activates the A action for the Japanese. So now, in addition to firing, if they draw a card like this one that has an A action on it, they can use the A action, which A is going to be either artillery, you have artillery fire, assault, ambush, or double advance or fire based on what type of unit it is, okay? So that's what this opens up. All right, so we will move on. Okay, so we're going to draw a card for them. And it is double yellow with a star in it, a red and a P. So no A. They didn't draw an A. Okay. So a double yellow like that indicates that you either need to have a unit with a depth marker or a combined position, essentially a position like this one, which has been claimed by the Americans. These two positions are linked. So if you had a Japanese unit here and here, they would be able to fire on that. Single yellows, such as this one, cannot fire. If they had a unit here, they could, but they don't. So they actually cannot fire any yellow units. So that's good. That's why I assaulted these areas to set up this kind of situation where I'm not. Oh, I forgot to remove my disruption from these guys. I believe it was this one, and this one. So that should have happened at the end of the action phase, and I forgot to do it. So it's done now. This guy's disrupted, and they're disrupted because they just assaulted in the previous turn. So we're now moving on to blue, rather. So we're looking for blue positions. So there's a blue position occupied by the Americans. So is that one. We have one here. Okay. So they can fire here as well. Our symbol is a circle. So that actually is a legitimate target for this unit. So we will take Company F of the 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines, and we will put them in here because they're getting a reduced. So that is F22. And F22 goes there. So they were here, I believe. Okay, so that's our blue. Now we have green. So just looking for green. There's a green here. Okay, are there any green dots in this area? I don't think so. Okay, this green is empty. This green's empty. Going around, that's empty. So again, we have this situation here where there is no dot in this one. The only dot in here is a brown dot, not a green dot. So I'm assuming that means that this guy can't shoot into that hex for some reason. I don't know if that's a printing error or if that's what it's intended to be. There is a building in there, and so building maybe negates it. That would complete the Japanese fire phase. Their card did not have an artillery thing on it. There is no one disrupted, so there is no disruption removal. They did not have any colors for any of their tanks, so the tanks aren't activated. So that was a pretty uneventful Japanese fire phase, especially from the U.S. standpoint. So we're going to move on to the U.S. action phase now. Okay, so again, you have moves, attacks, barrage, and then close combat. Now, I'm going to remove my disruption from these guys, right? As my free move. Now, I still have a U.S. action marker on there. What I'm going to probably do this turn is I'm going to close combat that guy right there. And aside from that, I might maybe this guy, I believe, is up here. I don't know why he was down there. That marker got moved. So, oh, I forgot to move these guys closer to the beach. They should actually be here. From the amphibious phase, at the amphibious phase, after I landed the HQs, I should have moved that guy up. I did remember it. It's belated, but it's done now. So that's good. He'll actually be able to hit the beach on his next turn. I know what I'm going to do. One of my moves will be to move this guy up here. Okay, and then we'll put an action taken marker on him. All right. Eventually, I'll be removing the disruption from these two. And we have Shoop now. So Shoop can give this guy a free move. And we will move him up 2 hexes as well. And we will move him, so we'll go 1, 2. So our Shoop hero here will drag his unit along with him as a free move. Now, because these are HQs, they actually give a free move to all the units that are adjacent to them. So they were here. Okay, so then we would get a free move for this guy and this guy. This guy's disrupted, so he's not moving because his move will be to remove that, and that's a free move anyway. So I am going to go with that I am able to move these 3 because the HQ is here, and we do have adjacency. So I will move 1, 2. Now these are free moves, right? Because I'm going to set up to attack this guy. And then I'm going to take Shoop, and I'm going to go 1, 2. And then he's sitting on a 3-step. So I can actually take this guy and move him here. We'll move him here. Okay. So that's a free move, and I don't need to worry about that. Now, we'll move Hall up here so he's with his infantry unit, and the infantry unit can benefit from him. Okay. So that's a free move as well. That's 1 move, and then Hall's a free move. So I've used 1 move by my calculations here. So we will also move this guy up as well. We'll go 1, 2. So that's 2. That's 3 moves because I used 1 over here. So that's all my moves. I'm going to remove this guy because I'm done. We're not going to do any attacks, I guess, this turn. So I'm going to remove my disruption and call it done. And that is the end of turn 3. Okay, so now as we get ready for turn 4, I need to put my tanks out because I did not do that. So tanks come in, this one's turn 4, turn 4, turn 4. So we have 1 on red 2, 1 on red 3, and 1 on red 1. That's pretty much what you would expect. So we'll put our red 1 on B. We'll put our red 2 on B. I'm going B because it's middle. That way if I get drift, I'm still kind of in my target area. And red 3B. They don't need LVTs. The tanks drive themselves. Obviously, they are tracked vehicles. So we are going to have some armor that we can put into the fight here in our next turn. But for now, I am going to wrap up the video. So this has been part 2 of our ongoing series. I don't know how many parts it'll actually end up being. But this is part 2 of Hexed and Countered on Legend Sport channel. I'm Joe. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, spread the word, etc. I appreciate you watching my stuff. I hope you're enjoying it, and I will see you soon. Take care.